Welcome back to For the Elevate. This is our 5th episode, and we hope you are enjoying our video chats as much as we are. We also hope you're finding a few key takeaways in each one that are helping you maneuver successfully through these very crazy and often chaotic times at work, at home, or actually maybe even both. In this episode, the three of us will chat about what we call the G ain't it awfuls. Yet there is so much of that surrounding us these days, and we need to break that cycle. Begin doing things or having conversations that can lead to G ain't it getting better, or best case scenario, G ain't it wonderful. So now Leana will take us on this journey as we explore this phenomenon and what you can personally do to change the conversation.
Gee, ain't it awful?
We're
back. We're back for the Elevate. And again, L is for living, leading, and learning. And we're fans of all three in a big way. Leading sometimes needs a little bit of coaching, and we have a few tips and tricks. Bridget, Kathy, and Leana, you can read about us in our bios. You just did or heard a little bit about us at the beginning and on the YouTube channel. So I was joking, but gee, ain't it awful? Have you heard that from anyone recently?
all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like everywhere you go. Gee, ain't it awful? And it's not like one thing, it's everything. And it's wearing us out. We need to change the conversation, I think, but it's not easy right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's important. I think what you said, Kathy, is really important there. Changing the conversation. It's important to actually have a conversation instead of talking at people. There's so much of that going on. Being able to just sit down and say, can we just talk about that and have a conversation? You don't have to agree. You can agree to disagree, but it can be in such a more healthy way than we've been seeing lately.
Yes, it's everywhere. And sometimes, I mean, I don't know, I can be in the best mood and you can walk into a break room. There's absolutely nothing wrong. You're feeling great and you walk into a break room and you start to hear a whole lot of gee, ain't it awful? And by the time you've made your coffee, you're thinking, yeah, that's right. It is. Right? Because negative tends to have a stronger effect or a faster effect than positive. Or am I imagining that?
No, you just jumped right on that bus right there with them, right?
Absolutely.
0 to 60, here we go.
With my coffee, yes. So away we go. Yeah, it's addictive in a very bad way, but it is prevalent everywhere. So what are some ways? Should people be coming with solutions to problems? Should we be helping them find solutions to problems?
Well, I think we need to reframe the conversation, which means we're going to think about it differently. And one way to do that I have personally found helpful is to not ask what, but to ask why. Got it backwards. Not ask why, but ask what. So too often we get stuck in, why are they doing that? Why are they punishing us? Why are they so stupid? And the conversation really needs to change to, what could we do that would change the outcome? What would make a difference to this situation? And have a different conversation. And it's a pretty powerful statement or question when you're talking to people, because it makes them stop and think for a minute, get out of the gee, ain't it awfuls.
Yeah.
Well, that thinking component is so important because right now you see people reacting to everything without having facts. They just hear something, they hear a soundbite, off they go. So being able to think through things and again, sit down, have conversations, or just take some quiet time and think about what you've just heard. Not a bad thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing I think is to look at it. I know there's going to be people out there who hear this and go, oh God, there's that again. Instead of what's, gee, ain't it awful? Gee, look at this opportunity. Because there is an opportunity to change things, but we do get caught up in that piece. Although I know that people get sick of that. It's not really making lemonade out of lemons. It's about changing our perspective on the issue at hand.
Well, yeah, and we've been through a lot of trauma over the last few years, and we talked about that in an earlier conversation. But um, I think our human tendency is to want to blame somebody for that. So, like, you look around and there's plenty of people to blame, but it absolutely gets us nowhere. Plus, I didn't plan the pandemic, so please don't blame me. And let's look at, all right, what can we do differently now? And there were a lot of things that were broken prior to that, which we were comfortable with because they were our routine. It's a great opportunity to change that. Think it through. Let's do something different as we move forward.
Right. And we don't have to change the world. We just need to change our world. So,
Oh,
so profound, right?
that's t-shirt material right there. Right? T-shirt or screen. Just change your own. We'll all be good.
I like it.
Mhm.
Professionally, personally, all those good things. But I think as leaders, when you talk about talking about it, I think as leaders, because people who are on the front lines or wherever, who report up to somebody, there's always a lot of why are they? I don't get it. Rationale is a really important thing for adults.
It really is. Yeah. Us adults don't like directives. And we owe it to each other to explain the rationale for decisions that are made and even ask for input. And there's a time when you have to say, we have to move forward with this now, but I wanted you to understand the context in which this decision was made. Let's talk to each other. Talk.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where the magic really happens. And that's where, you get all 3 L's: living, leading, learning. It all comes together right there.
Yeah, that's excellent. The other thing that I was going to mention is just that being able to ask questions of someone. I'm here to ask these questions if you have questions about the situation. But I also wanted to get your opinion as professionals in leadership on buy-in. So let's go to this place where something's being dictated from here to here, and this leader has to communicate it down here. Talk to me about the leader that says, I don't know why they're doing it. We just have to do it. Trust me, I hate it as much as you do. Let's hear some thoughts on that. Not that that happens that often.
No. I think there's quite a bit of that goes on, and it's tough to be a middle manager. It really is, because you're close enough to where the real work happens to know what people are thinking. And but you're not at the top making some of those decisions that you really don't appreciate. And I think I'm pretty much an advocate for transparency, to say, I'm not sure why this decision was made. And I'd be happy to, take feedback, but this is the direction that we were given, and here's the rationale. Let's try it and see what happens. I mean, I wouldn't fake it. Say, oh yeah, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid too, because they know you're not. But to say, this is the direction that we've been told we need to go, so we're going to have to give it a shot, but we'll monitor it as we go. And I'm committed to giving feedback. I mean, that's at least a start.
Yeah.
I think that's the best you can do when you have situations like that. But again, the transparency and the honesty, staff appreciate that because they can completely relate.
Yeah, excellent. I love that you said, let's just try it. Let's try it and see how it goes, instead of saying, oh no, this is going to be great.
Right. Because, the BS monitor starts going off, right?
Yeah, and then that affects your own credibility, and that's a whole other conversation. I may write that down, actually, credibility for another discussion. Sorry, I got to keep track of these little nuggets.
These are good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so also applies to our personal lives. Gee, ain't it awful?
Sure does. I mean, I don't know about your personal lives, but we've had a lot of trauma in our lives over the last couple of years. health-wise, mental health, physical health, and then just looking at the economy right now. I mean, there's just a whole lot of stuff going on that we could all get really whacked about. But there's things you can't change. So like, we have to find ways to not ruminate on those things and let those go. And, that's in a variety of ways. We talk about how do you give your brain a break? How do you focus on something more positive that you enjoy and brings you joy? So, yeah.
Right. Well, and when you focus so much on the G ain't it awfuls, then you wake up feeling awful, you go to bed feeling awful. It's just plain awful. So if you can start your day with a little bit something positive, you'd be amazed at how that can permeate the rest of the day and just change your whole mindset, which is really so important. Getting back, you can go to those brain breaks, whatever it takes. But you have to personally do something different than just sit and kibitz over all the trauma that's going on.
I think gratitude too, and this may be one of those things where some of our folks will go, do a little eye roll, but it is so powerful. If you really practice it, I mean, it can make a huge difference. And it's the little things that we should, pay attention to and be grateful for,
Absolutely. And it's huge. If you hang out with someone who is physically not well off, or mentally or emotionally, I mean, you can quickly figure out what you have to be grateful for and really celebrate that. And there's a whole lot of that going on. And so just the fact that we're able to have a conversation like this today is really, it's a gift. And we enjoy each other's company. That's a gift. We laugh together, huge gift. And throughout this, there have been people that I've had to move away from, like distance myself from, because they're just not good for me right now. So I'm gonna put you at arm's length for a bit. If you ask me why, I'll tell you.
Yes.
But I need to do that for my personal health.
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah, that's huge. We really have to look after ourselves for sure. Protect ourselves from extraneous G ain't it awful.
Exactly. And turn off the television, turn off, take your break from social media at 7:00 at night, get off of everything. Go read a fantastic book, whatever it is, take a long walk, whatever that may be, but tune out of that stuff. It just, it's not worth the time and effort that it brings you down.
Yeah.
We had to make a rule here, that we have grandkids, lots, and when they're here, we don't watch the news. And I wasn't really paying that much attention to it. And my granddaughter said, "Can we not watch this? It's really upsetting me." And I went, "You bet." I mean, so think about that. And she was at the time a young teen. But what is it we're putting into our homes and into our families, listening ears as well? So we don't have to listen to that. It's really not that different from day to day, by the way. So, you could probably skip a few and be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean tune out of the world.
No.
Right? Take a break.
Don't get me started on the start of 24-hour news. We won't get into that conversation.
Right, exactly. That's full of G ain't it awfuls.
Yeah, it is. It's constant. Even the commercials sometimes, okay, that's awful. All right, so we'll get together next time with a new topic. Thanks for joining us, and ladies, I'm grateful for you.
Always grateful for you.
Thanks.
We just love this conversation. There's so many things that we are grateful for, and I'm sure you are as well. But we also hope we gave you some fantastic tips on how to break those G ain't it awful cycles that we may find ourselves in. If you tuned into our last episode, we like to end our chats with a funny quote to think about when the day gets just a little bit heavy. We've all had those. We lovingly refer to them as titter times. So here's one that we are especially fond of for the conversation you just listened to. So here we go. A negative person sees the glass half empty. A positive person sees the glass half full. A realistic person adds 2 shots of whiskey, 2 cubes of ice, and says cheers. Now, the author is unknown for this quote, but we absolutely love this one. It's really perfect for those gee, ain't it awful kind of moments. So to complete this episode, please don't forget to leave us comments. Let us know what really resonated with you. And of course, let us know what you would like to hear in future episodes. So until next time, keep moving towards a healthier you. Do it for the Elevate.